Welcome to Everything Sports with Aman. I'm your host, Aman Adkarni, and today we're going to talk about more about NFL free agency and kind of start talking about the NFL draft a little bit and then more on NBA news. But before we start, make sure to follow me on all social media platforms that you currently see on your screen. I will put my Twitter will also be in the description. I will make sure by the next episode to put that on screen as well because I am active on there. I give a lot of opinions on sports topics, and then those sports topics is what I talk about on either the weekly episodes, which I'll start posting every Saturday on Spotify and Apple under Everything Sports with Aman, of course, and then YouTube. You'll get 3 to 5 videos like this 10, 20 minute videos during the week, just talking about sports news, whatever is relevant in the sports world. And then, like I said, working on lining up interviews. So, interviews will be coming to the podcast. Those will be part of the longer form episodes every Saturday. But when I do the interviews, they'll also be posted on YouTube. But the normal weekly Saturday ones, they'll be Spotify and Apple. But when I have interviews, they will be on YouTube as well. But without further ado, I mean, obviously there's a lot of storylines so far for NFL free agency. The Seahawks, I feel like they've needed some sort of change, but I feel like it happened so abruptly all of a sudden this offseason in the sense that DK requested a trade. I'm like, all right, that it's like I still can't believe that he's not playing for Seattle, but at the same time, like it's not surprising that he did indeed request a trade. And then all of a sudden, Geno Smith went to the Vegas Raiders for a third round pick. So I'm like, all right, DK is going to play there. They have a decent O line, decent defense. So maybe the Raiders could do something, make some noise. Then DK obviously goes to Pittsburgh. I do like that team. And obviously, Aaron Rodgers is on his way out. But now you have kind of they did lose Najee Harris to the Chargers on a one year deal. So like Harris and Dobbins, that's gonna make for a nice 1-2 punch over there in the Chargers. But I mentioned the Steelers, of course. They'll have an average run game, but I feel like they've always been one quarterback away because their defense has been far too elite year after year after year. And teams like them, the Browns, it was the Broncos until they found theirs in Bo Nix. So obviously they're not in that category anymore of teams with elite defenses, but just a quarterback away from making some noise. So the Browns, maybe they get Russell Wilson, whoever it is, and then again, if they get a rookie quarterback, I've never been in favor of immediately starting the rookie quarterback because I've always believed that maybe for a season or a little less than that, maybe 10 games, whatever it is, make that rookie quarterback learn from that veteran quarterback, whatever quarterback there is in that current room. And if you draft a quarterback round one, or if you draft a quarterback that you expect to have high potential, make him learn behind that quarterback. So I think the Browns, sure, if you get Russell Wilson, whatever veteran quarterback it is, make sure the rookie quarterback, because I think they will draft Cam Ward or Shadur Sanders. And this goes for the Titans as well. Maybe just keep Levis is still young. I'm not really sure if he's considered a veteran, to be honest, but he's been in the league for a bit now, and so I feel like whatever quarterback it is now, all these teams should stick with, and then help that rookie quarterback learn. Because I feel like obviously not all players are open to teaching the younger player, because obviously that younger player is next up, taking the spot and everything like that, and so obviously there's some rifts that could be created per se, but I always do feel like the best veterans are also the best teachers as well, and so I feel like that's what will happen there. But with Seattle, they did pay Sam Darnold. People said that was an overpay, and I don't think so because I feel like it was exactly like the Baker Mayfield situation where I mean, I said the Browns. Honestly, if they kept Baker Mayfield, like and if they had a stable organization, which I feel like they're getting towards in a way, because Judy broke out. And this was like Winston at quarterback. Myles Garrett, there's reports that he's not on time to anything. So again, I'm confused why he got that huge contract to begin with. But instead of just trading him for like a huge like generational like pick package or whatever it is. So I was surprised they still paid him if those reports are true. But at the same time, like they've been a quarterback away. Deshaun Watson was and is probably not going to work out for them. And so obviously they're going in the quarterback direction, but they've had Baker Mayfield. They chose to go for Deshaun Watson. Baker Mayfield bounced around and get the right opportunity until he got to Tampa, played well for one season, and got a 3-year, $100 million contract, exactly like Sam Darnold. But the Vikings, they do have J.J. McCarthy, who, even though he was injured, he was able to learn from a veteran quarterback like Sam Darnold. So J.J. McCarthy has a great season. He has a great running back, a top three receiver duo in Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, and an elite tight end in TJ Hawkinson, and a pretty good defense. And so I feel like JJ McCarthy's set up for success, and a lot of quarterbacks would in that system, being coached by Kevin O'Connell, elite coach. But as for Sam Darnold, again, I wonder if DK would have stayed because they signed DeMarcus Lawrence, and I feel like all the Seahawks needed to do was get an O line, and then they'll be good. They'll be great. Obviously, the Rams got better. The Niners are getting worse, but I feel like the Seahawks, they have, and they were just an O line away. Whether they're going to do it through the draft or whoever else is left on free agency, I don't know. But again, the Sam Darnold thing, it's like, it's kind of a rebuild, but kind of not at the same time. Like, I don't know how to say it. Um, but that's happening, and it's kind of peculiar. Like, if Darnold went to the Giants, I get that because like Neighbors is there, Tyrone Tracy is there, like nice, great young players to grow next to Darnold. And then DeMarcus Lawrence came out and said he wasn't winning with the Cowboys anyways. And I remember he did initially years ago agree to terms with the Denver Broncos, and then all of a sudden backed out to stay in Dallas. And if he's going to Seattle and saying, obviously, right now, the Cowboys probably won't win a Super Bowl, but anyone can argue, and it's not even an argument that the Cowboys do have a better chance at winning the Super Bowl than the Seahawks. So, I mean, that was slightly a confusing comment by DeMarcus Lawrence, but I guess the Seahawks, they might draft a receiver here, but then again, I feel like Sam Darnold's going to get killed with that O-line. And so we'll see what happens there because, like, Leonard, I will say Leonard Williams, I believe, and DeMarcus Lawrence as a duo in the defense, that'll be an underrated duo. They're maybe not underrated because that's a great duo in my eyes, but I feel like they might get overlooked. So, if anything, if the Seahawks make some kind of noise in the regular season, I feel like it'll be their defense more than anything because obviously Darnold is a great quarterback. They do have Marcus Valdes-Scantling, who I'm pretty sure I saw this on social media where it's like the past 4 or 5 years, the quarterbacks that played with Marcus Valdes-Scantling has won MVP. Whether that's not it's true, whether or not it's true, we'll see because obviously he's Sam Darnold, but honestly, he could have won MVP at Booton unless if Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson weren't having those years, and Saquon Barkley, and actually Jamar Chase, like Darnold, I feel like for a good amount of the season had somewhat of a case to win it, win the MVP award. And so we'll see what's happening in Seattle. The Niners, they signed one they signed Robinson to play to add to that receiving room with Ricky Pearsall. I don't know if they're still trying to trade Brandon Ayuk, but I feel like the Niners are obviously needing to pay Brock Purdy. Those negotiations are going well. Obviously, Purdy outplayed his contract, outplayed his draft pick by a long shot. No one expected Mr. Irrelevant, the last pick in the draft, to first of all play on the field, but then actually make a difference. But I feel like now they might have to be forced to copy the Chiefs formula of having the Chiefs. It's just great quarterback play, and I feel like the Niners, even though they're losing guys like Hufunga, they still have Malik Mustafa who stepped in and replaced him and did very well. They did lose Dre Greenlaw, which honestly sucks because Greenlaw and Fred Warner before the injury, like they were getting comparisons to the elite duo of Patrick Willis and Navarro Bowman. If you guys remember them. But honestly, post injury, like they needed to let players go. Like I feel like it was inevitable, and I feel like the fact that a team as talented as them with a quarterback on his rookie deal, I feel like it was honestly shocking to me they couldn't get at least one Super Bowl. Yes, everyone will talk about the calls, talking about playing the Chiefs and everything, but e- either way, like I honestly, it's baffling to me now looking back at how it turned out. How they couldn't win a Super Bowl, but I feel like they're gonna copy the Bills and Chiefs where they have great tight ends. Obviously, the Bills are different here. Average receiving core. The Chiefs had an average receiving core. Travis Kelce, elite tight end. The Bills have a good tight end. The Niners have an elite tight end, elite running back, and then a good quarterback, and then obviously elite quarterbacks for the Bills and Chiefs. But what I'm trying to say is there's no like elite standout pass catcher that honestly the Niners have other than Kittle because we don't know what Brandon Ayuk will be after injury. I still think he's going to be good. And so maybe the Niners won't be as bad, but they did lose Aaron Banks like already on an average O line, losing a starting offensive lineman like that might hurt. Hopefully they draft well because now everyone should literally just copy Howie Roseman. Just sign like players you know that will make an impact, like Saquon Barkley, and then Howie Roseman's probably one of the best GMs I've seen at drafting players because DeJean popped off, Quinion Mitchell popped off. I thought these guys were like going to be both first round picks, and so I was surprised when DeJean dropped. And then obviously Devontae Smith trading for AJ Brown. Like Howie Roseman just seems to be playing all of his cards correctly. And so I feel like a lot of these teams should copy his blueprint. But I think the Niners are going to go the route of an average receiving core, but then having a great tight end, consistent quarterback play. And obviously they have the best running back between them, the Bills, and Chiefs. But I feel like they're going to have similar blueprints to them where it's predicated more towards just consistently sound football because I feel like the Chiefs weren't really dominant on offense at anything this past season, but they played consistent football, which eventually got them to the Super Bowl. And obviously, they're still going to have an elite defense. And now that I think about it, Joey Bosa on the Bills, I honestly I would have loved to see him and Nick Bosa on the same team, but I guess 1 year, 12 million is what the Bills gave him, and the Bills also got Palmer from the Chargers, so I feel like the Bills, they've always been my Super Bowl pick. So at this point, I guess I pick against the Bills, and maybe they'll get over the hump. But I just really want to see Josh Allen win a Super Bowl, and it sucks for Niners fans that it has come down to this. But I feel like right now you definitely go with the Rams as best in the division, but I also wouldn't just like completely rule out the Niners from making any noise because obviously they're going to hold on to Purdy. Kittle's still there, CMC is still there, and then obviously Trent Williams on the left tackle, and then obviously you still have Fred Warner, you still have Bosa. Malik Mustafa is going to take the next step, but obviously Hufunga, huge loss. Not huge loss, but what the Broncos are getting, like if again he was getting injured, Greenlaw did get injured in the Super Bowl, so the Broncos definitely have an elite defense. I think they'll either draft Ashton Genty because now they have Evan Ingram as well, so that's another pass catcher who just needs to stay healthy for Bo Nix. But I feel like now the Broncos will have to draft a receiver or Ashton Genty just to give more to Bo Nix, either another receiver next to Cortland Sutton. Even though they do have Mims, so I feel like that could be a great receiver room with whatever receiver they draft if they do go that route, or even with Ashton Genty to add to that offense and then to that elite defense. So I think the Broncos are definitely a team that you can't just blatantly rule out. And like I'm saying, they'll make noise in the regular season, playoffs. Super Bowl contender will obviously still have to see with these up and coming teams, but I feel like they have the potential to do great things this upcoming season. The Niners as well, I'm not blatantly ruling them out. Of course, they lost a ton of players. Kyle Juszczyk, fan favorite, and I honestly don't know why they did that because for what they did in that system and the chemistry, I feel like, again, I've said this way too many times. When these front offices are making these decisions, chemistry is an underrated aspect, and that's what Kyle Juszczyk gave the Niners between CMC, between George Kittle, and yes, people will say like, oh, fullback, really irrelevant position or whatever. But for what Kyle Juszczyk was, he was very elite at it. Probably one of the best fullbacks in the game. Will probably go in the Hall of Fame for that. I don't know if fullbacks go in the Hall of Fame like that, so I'm just kind of speaking right now, so don't hold me to that. But honestly, Kyle Juszczyk, out of every move the Niners made, that was more slightly confusing and surprising. But the Steelers also like to run fullback, and Kyle Juszczyk on the Steelers would be great. And I feel like if he's there and Aaron Rodgers is there, the Steelers could make some noise. But that's my thoughts on NFL free agency so far. I'll actually get to the NFL draft at a later episode. Probably going to introduce other sports as well. So be on the lookout for that either tomorrow or the long form episode, which will come out exclusively on Spotify and Apple. So thank you for listening today and see you on the other platforms.